Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahawashi, Ba'ashem Rakakbadash. And of course, I want to say Shalom to Yakinakwat out there, doing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson, a special one at that. It is the 250th year, all right, of Babylon's existence, all right, as the United States of America. So the title of this lesson is 250 Years of Torment. 250 years of torment, okay? Since this country has been formed, and before this country has been formed, all right, the Edomites that went on to rule this nation have been nothing but just cruel, all right, wicked, oppressive, evil, proud, all right, and we're going to be touching on that today. So, I have a couple of their methods of madness, all right, slavery, okay, experimentation, medical experimentation, vivisections, all right, all weird sorts of crazy shit, all right, with, I don't want to say it without getting the whole thing flagged, experimental cocktails, all right, like the whole injecting individuals with syphilis, all right, the Tuskegee experiments and whatnot. Town attacks, okay, going into so-called black and brown towns, raising them, okay, which is, of course, destroying them, lighting them on fire, bombing them, okay, all sorts of wicked shit that they've done. And last but certainly not least, cruelty, okay, just doing shit that's pure cruel, okay, making fun of, being hostile, shit like the African Dodger, right, throwing baseballs at babies, okay, because to them it's quote-unquote fun. This is the American way, okay, this is the Edomite way, all right, these are the people that rule the nation, okay, and really the whole world currently, okay, because the earth is given to the hand of the wicked. So these are the things that they like. They like slavery. They like the experimentations medically and all these different shit. They like attacking towns and cruelty, right? 250 years, technically more than that, but 250 years as the United States of America, these statutes have gone out, all right? These decrees have gone out. These ways, this lifestyle, all right, has gone out and been perpetrated by the so-called white man, who biblically is Esau, Edom. Okay, that the Lord is going to come back to. We're not going to do it, but the Lord is going to come back, crack open those skies, and lay waste, okay, to the Edomites and the other heathen nations as well. And some of you, just a few, all right, are going to be set aside to be the first ones to go into captivity. Okay, the first ones to go into captivity, because hate to break the news to you, I don't actually, I love to break the news to you, you're going into captivity. Okay, that's what it is. Okay. And why you say, why do I have this American flag GIF, all right, on the screen burning? Is it because I'm a hostile force against the United States? We're not, what are we going to do? Okay, we're not going to do anything, all right? We know you like to portray us as evil. You like to say that we're, you want to play all these different games, say that we're terrorists and that we're evil. We're against America. But again, you got to realize that vengeance is the Lord's. We're not going to go out and do any type of event, okay? The Lord's going to do all those events, okay? The Lord controls the world. The Lord controls people, all right? The Lord controls if a dam goes down and breaks. The Lord controls if there's hurricanes and all these different weather effects and droughts and all these different. We don't have to do anything, okay? We don't have to do anything, all right? We didn't have to do anything in the first Exodus that happened in Egypt, okay? And we don't have to do anything from this one either, all right? The Lord's going to handle it, all right? The plagues that he's going to bring is the plagues that he's going to bring. We don't need to bring the plagues, okay? The judgments that he's going to bring is the judgments that he's going to bring. We don't have to bring any judgments, okay? The only thing we have to do is speak against this place, this wicked land, and the Edomites, and really the whole world, not just America, Babylon the Great, but all right, that are partaking in this evil. But primarily, it is our job to speak against Mount Seir. And this is the modern day Mount Seir. This is the modern day Idumea. This is the modern day Petra. All right, this is the modern day land of Esau, Edom. All right, the United States of America. And why is the flag burning? Because this is 250 years of a nation that's been dying steadily since it was birthed. Okay? And that's because of the rampant injustice. That's because of people that can't fucking make their minds up. You have Edomites that one say we should go left, one say we should go right, one say we should go up, one say we should go down, one say we should be Republican, one say we should be Democrat, one says we should help the black people, one says we shouldn't help the black people. Again, a nation that is divided against itself cannot stand. Okay? So that's my little opening, right? This isn't, this is just showing you that this place is going to go up in flames. All right? America is going to go up in flames. World War III is going to happen. America, of course, is not going to win. Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is going to come back with that nuclear devastation, nuclear missiles, lakes of fire, and this is what's going to happen. All right, America is going to be completely demolished, completely razed, completely burnt, completely toast, and in that stead, there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. All right, and all these things, America, the great land of America, the great land of China, the great land of Russia, right? No one's going to remember those places. All that information is going to go away. We're not going to think about them anymore. We're going to think about the new heaven, the new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness, under Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwedash. Okay? So that's the opening, right? That's the opening. So we can get this off the screen here. Let me get out of it. And boom, bam. So the first scripture, well, you know what? Don't want to grab another one. Let's grab a different one first before I get into this. All right, let's get because I mentioned it in the opening. Okay, divided against itself. This is right here, Mark 3:24, and we'll get Mark 3:25, and we'll get Luke 11:17. Right, we'll get them all here. All right, we got them, folks. We got them in stock, so get them while you can. They're hot and ready. Let's get, as I do, the four translations: King James Version, New Living Translation, New Revised Standard Version, and the Amplified Bible. All right, and I'll do you one better. All right, we'll also get the Good News Translation as well. So 5 whole different. In case you think that, oh, I don't really like that one. Well, you don't like any of these 5. You don't believe in what any of these 5 have to say, right? Oh, I don't like the King James. That we got the NLT. Well, I don't like the NLT. Well, that's fine. We got the NRSV. Well, I don't like the NRSV. Well, we got the Ant Bible. Well, I don't like the Ant Bible. Well, I got the Good News. I don't like. Well, it sounded like you just don't like the Bible to me. That's what it sounded like to me, right? And again, if you have a specific Bible preference, right, that you feel like that one has the best information out of it, really, the King James Version holds that spot. But hey, grab it. Get the precepts as long as I read it, right? Go online. You can go to right here to Bible Gateway, wherever you want. They got the translations, and read along that way. Okay, no excuses. So Mark 3:24 again in the King James Version, because I roughly quoted it, but I want to get it verbatim. It says, "And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand." Okay, and what do we see in this kingdom that we're in? Division. Okay. You got literal Edomites, okay, and not everybody that's white looking is an Edomite. There's other people, I myself am white looking, but I'm not an Edomite. I always like to preface that, again, as I say, I've been saying it in a lot of lessons recently. It's not a skin color thing. This is a biblical lineage thing. You can be white looking and be an Israelite. You can be black looking and be an Edomite. It's not about skin color. It's about ethnic origin, okay, through the seed line of your father that hopefully for you goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and most importantly in that line, Jacob. Because if you go back to just Isaac, you can end up as an Edomite. Has to specifically go through Jacob, because Jacob's name was later changed to Israel, through which the 12 tribes came through, making us Israelites. Boom, 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 right? So, not a skin color thing. Putting that out there, because everyone, oh, you black, you lip. Nope. Did that last lesson before that. We'll continue to get that, because that's one of the main things that people try to get against the truth. But anyway, now that I've prefaced that and said that, I can say it. You got these so-called white people out here that they're both Edomites, okay? But you have Edomites that are thinking rightly, and you have Edomites that are thinking wrongly, all right? And as opposed to what is beneficial to us, the Edomites that are in their right mind hate Jake. want to kill Jake. Those are the ones that are in their right mind, because that's who they are as a people, right? They're an evil people. They're a wicked people. They're proud, known as profane as Esau, as the scriptures say. And again, whenever I bring these scriptures up, if you want to drop them down below, feel free. If you're a brother, all right, male, all right, women aren't supposed to be doing that. We love you. You got other things to do, but job is not to do the scriptures, all right? We don't hate women, but that's just not your job. Men have different jobs. Women have different jobs. All right, they're both important jobs. But just wanted to preface that. You're not hated. We love you, but just not time and place, all right? Decent. Let everything be done decently in order, and that's not orderly, all right, according to Yahweh Shemau Shai. So women, you can, if you want to drop a heart, drop a shalom, that's fine, but men specifically are the only ones that are supposed to be doing scriptures, okay? Just want to put that out there. But if a man, a brother, see, I quote something and I don't end up getting it, feel free to drop it down below. It's very helpful, all right, and it'll allow edification to go out. So anyway, you got these Edomites that are in their wrong mind, and they think that and really what it is, it's like they got an infatuation with Jake. Okay, they got an infatuation. So you got the right-minded Edomites, that want to kill Jake. They want to hang Jake. They hate him. They want to do all sorts of evil and perpetuate violence against them. Those are the ones that are actually in their right mind, all right, as not to our benefit, all right, but those are the ones, that's how they're supposed to be, okay, because they've always been like that. Now you have some, and deep down inside, they are still like that, but they try to mask it. They try to virtue signal. All right, let's go and define what virtue signal is. They try to virtue signal, okay? It says virtue signaling is the public expression of moral opinions or actions intended primarily to boost one's social standing or demonstrate good character. I love black people. I would help them out. They're wonderful. We shouldn't be doing... Shut up. We know you hate our people, all right? The so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. We know you hate our people, but you want to virtue signal. You want a white knight, okay? Which really, white knighting is another form of racism. White knighting. Okay, what is white knighting? White knighting refers to the act of aggressively defending someone, usually a woman online, it could be, a race of people as well, with the ulterior motive of incurring romantic favor or gaining a social status. Leave the blacks alone. Leave those Negroes and Latinos alone. Leave the Native American Indian alone. They've suffered so much. You're white knighting. You're virtue signaling. You want everybody to see, oh my gosh, see, they are really good people. And it's also to try, they don't want that idea that, oh, these people are fucking evil. They're wicked. They're the scum of the fucking earth. So they try to do these things where they white knight. They try to virtue signal. Like, I love the Negro. You don't. All right, you really don't. I knew and know individuals that are like this. Okay? And there's some of the most racist motherfuckers. If you go, I don't like those goddamn monkeys. I hate those fucking motherfucking blacks. I really hate them. Those are the guys that'll sit down with a black man and have a beer. And have black friends. All right. Oh, that's Jigaboo James over there. Yeah, that's a good boy over there. He actually worked, for one of them people. But then you have the ones that are like, oh, I love black people, but you won't see him walking with a black person. You won't see him talking with a black person. You won't see him defending a black person. You won't see him doing shit. Right? Unless they're in a public spectacle. Then they'll be like, leave Jamal alone. So, and again, like, he himself was a coon, but, not MLK, Malcolm X, okay? And you see that type of behavior, primarily with the Democrat, okay? You see that with the white Democrat, okay? And the white Democrat is no different than the so-called white. The Edomite Democrat, let me just correct it. The Edomite Democrat is no different than the Republican Democrat. They've gotten better at masking their actions and playing as the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Americans' friend. And Malcolm X was right with this. All right, he was correct on this. Let's see. It says, and they've really tried to hide this quote. Here it is. This is the one. I'm actually save this because it gets harder and harder every time I try to go and search for it. Be under information. All right, now I got it saved because they keep on trying to do this shit. Right here. This is a quote from him. It says, the white liberal, the Edomite liberal, differs from the white Edomite conservative only in one way. They only differ in one way. The liberal is more deceitful than the conservative, right? The conservatives, you know, the Republicans, they wear their sleeves on their shoulder. They're the ones walking around using the N-word with hard R. They're the ones saying jigaboo, moon cricket, and all these different crazy-ass fucking names. They're the ones, you know, the Proud Boys and going on and putting all these fucking outfits. They're doing it. And, you know, they're letting their actions be known. The liberals, they think the same way, but they try to convince themselves that they're not the same way, and they try to play the Negro friend. And that's, no. Right? They're both the fucking same at the end of the day. He goes on to say both want power. They both want power. They're both, it's a fucking sham at the end of the day. All right? Politics, ticks. All right? So, lie and then ticks. All right? And both in that word. Politics, ticks. They lie and they're like ticks. All right, they're like fucking leeches sucking off the back of hardworking, so-called, as we're called, Americans. The people that are doing all the labor, that are doing all the word, the politics, they're sitting around, you know, 85, 95 years old in fucking Parliament and Congress, falling asleep, getting paid fucking $200,000, $300,000 a year to fucking sleep and take a nap and wear fucking a pair of Depends, right? They're just leeches, they're ticks, right? So both want power, but the white liberal, the Edomite liberal, is the one who has perfected the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And, you know, Malcolm X was on the black shit, but, you know, the blickety black and I'm black, y'all. But really, they pose as the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Americans benefactors and friends, right? And they say, oh, you know, this and that, and they try to act, you know, like they're just so good, and they're not. They're not, okay? And that's the two choices that you get, okay? There's also independent, but independent votes aren't even counted, okay? So you have a choice between the red or the blue, all right? And they're both there to fuck over you, okay? Red and the blue are both for themselves and not for you. They're not, okay? They're not your friends, okay? They're both a shackle on the mind. These people really think, oh, I have a vote, you know. 250 years of Republican and Democrat, and the shit's still fucked up. Neither one is fixing anything. They're furthering the agenda, all right, of the 1948ers, who are, you know, the shadow government that secretly fucking controls this place, and they've controlled this place. It all goes back to those 13 families, and it's been like that since the birth of the nation, okay? 250 years of torment. They're not changing. They're the same people, just with a different fucking color of paint. Same sucker, different flavor, okay? Flip it over, one side's blue, on the other side it's red, okay? They're the same fucking people. They're not going to do anything to help you. They're not for you, okay? That's why going later on in the lesson, well, not too later, it's, well, it is later on. It's one of the later scriptures I'm going to get is Micah 2 and 10. Right? For us to depart this place. This isn't for us. This isn't our land. This isn't for us to dwell in. This isn't for us to prosper in. This isn't, you know, this here is not the land of milk and honey. This is not the place where we're going to prosper and have businesses and have loving families and enjoy our children and have great wealth and great health. No. No, this is a land of really our punishment. We were brought here for punishment, and we want the fuck out. O-U-T, out. All right? We want out. We don't want to stay here. We don't want to, what's the word? We don't want to, tarry. All right? We don't want to delay the coming of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. We don't want to be here longer than we have to be. Okay? We want to go. We want to leave. We want to get the fuck out and dodge. All right? We have our ticket, Lord willing, if we're a part of the elect. We're just waiting for the transport to show up. And the transport is Yahweh Bashem Yahushua and those chariots, all right, coming to get us out. So, back into it, Mark 3 and 24. Mark, and this time in the NLT, it says, a kingdom divided by civil war will collapse. Well, eventually, a civil war is going to happen, but this is not necessarily talking about civil war just yet, but a civil war is going to occur. All right, there's already been one. All right, there is going to be another civil war. Okay, civil war, race war. There's going to be, you know, it's really going to be perpetuated. But the ones who want to do it the most is the Republican. All right, they really want another civil war because they're not happy with the things that are going on in this country. Okay, they're trying again. The quote of Trump is to make America great again, and when that keeps on failing over and over and over again, and their actions are vain, all right, it's not getting them anywhere. They're not moving forward. They're not tipping the scale in the way that they want to. All right, and they're trying to, you know, they're doing all the shit with the concentration camps. I mean, internment camps. I mean, ICE camps. Whatever the fuck you want to call them. They're concentration camps. And, you know, they really want to get more and more people in there. They want to take children away from the family, and they want to get more black and brown in there and get them the fuck out. And when this isn't necessarily working the way that they want it to, because Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is not going to let it work the way that they want it to, because there's individuals that have to be here for the salvation and judgment, It's really fucking them up in the mind. All right, they really want something to happen a certain type of way, and they have a false version of, a false ideology of how they want things to go, and it's just not gonna go that way, man. It's just not gonna go that way. So NRSVU, meanwhile, you have a whole other second group of people that's against them. How are you gonna make America great again when the nation is divided against itself? You have a bunch of people that want to go back to the 1930s, and you have a whole bunch of people that want to stay right here. You have a bunch of people that want to go back to, women cooking and cleaning and being in the household and no blacks being seen for a mile and miles. And you have the other ones that want to dress up in animal costumes and fuck each other in the ass, all right? And while barking. So how are you going to those two are not compatible. So what's going to have to happen? You're going to have to get them out of here, kill them or something, because, right? Civil war. Those two groups, if you're trying to fix a nation and one wants to stay in the present, one wants to go back into the past, how is that going to happen, right? These people are going to declare a civil war, okay? They're going to declare a civil war because they can't have it happen the way that, again, you can't, and really it's impossible. Even a civil war is not going to fix it, because once you've introduced homosexuality and feminism and all these different, and again, I'm allowed to speak, this is religious freedom. We're allowed to have that in this so-called state of America, all right? It's the first amendment, our First Amendment right, all right? It's freedom, okay, of speech. No other freedoms, just of speech. And we're allowed to have that, all right? And I'm just prefacing that because YouTube likes to go on and they like to do some unjust shit and try to take your video down when you speak, okay? This is a religious solemn assembly that we're holding, okay? It's likened to a church. It really is church, so it should not be infringed upon, okay? That's another thing in America. Allegedly, we have religious freedom. Well, apparently not if videos are getting taken down, right? And they say, oh, that's a difference between, the Constitution and the rights and then the YouTube. Well, where is YouTube ran out of? America. So the rights and the constitutional rights, all right, should be in effect, right? But no, because they're allowed to do whatever they want. They're really allowed to go against the rights. So you don't have the rights at all, really. They'll allow you them sometimes, and they'll allow you not sometimes. But anyway, this is the Ant Bible. It says, do we get the NRSVU? Anyway, I'll get it again. It says, if a kingdom is divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. Ant Bible. If a kingdom is divided, split into factions and rebelling, and that's what you have. You have they're like two sides of the same magnet, right? They're like, you ever try to put two ends of the same, a positive with a positive, a magnet, and you get that push, right? They'll push away from each other. That's essentially what's happening. You got factions, all right? And a faction, we can go and define faction, because that's exactly what the Democrats and Republicans are. It's fucking faction, right here. So you see, factions. Okay, what is a faction? A faction is a small, organized, and often dissenting group within a larger organization, government, or society that shares distinct beliefs, interests, and goals. So you have two factions, okay? You have the Democrats, and then you have the Republicans. And then if you really want to go on, there's other factions as well, like the people that don't care about politics at all right? That's another faction. Then you have another faction of the conspiracy theorists, right? The ones that are saying, oh, this is all bullshit and made up, right? So there's, the two primary factions, though, are Democrat and Republican. Choose one and stick with it, right? That's what they want you to do. But those two groups are rebelling against each other. So again, if a kingdom is divided, split into factions and rebelling against itself, because these are two groups that claim to be for America, right? That kingdom cannot stand. Good News Translation. If a country divides itself into groups which fight each other, that country will fall apart. That country will fall apart. And we're coming into it, man. We're coming into it because 250 years of torment. It's a 250th year. We're seeing it right now. We're in it currently. It's currently July 4th, 2026 at 10:55 p.m. And that's what we're seeing. It's active. If we go and look it up, how long do empires last on average? Well, it says historians and political scientists frequently estimate that the average lifespan of a major empire is roughly 250 years, what we're currently at right now. This 10-generation milestone is largely popularized by British General Sir John Glubb's historic essay, The Fate of Empires, and backed by statistical analysis of imperial lifespans. While 250 years is a widely cited historical average, imperial lifespans vary dramatically depending on the era and how their longevity is measured. short-lived empire. This was, well, it's not really a short-lived empire. It says, but it's on an average, average empire. Short-lived empires up to 100 years. Many empires fracture quickly due to rapid overexpansion and unstable successions. The Mongol Empire, about 160 years if counted from Genghis Khan's initial conquest to the fall of the Yuan dynasty, I believe would pronounce, fractured into smaller khanates within a few generations. 250-year consensus, that's where we're at right now. Major historical powers like the Assyrian, Persian, and British empires fall roughly in, and that's what this is, right? Into the 200 to 300 year range. This cycle is often characterized by distinct stages: pioneers, conquest, commerce, affluence, intellect, and finally decadence. That's basically what happened in America, right? It says long-lived empires, 500 to 1,000 years. Some empires survived for vastly longer periods. The Roman Empire lasted nearly 500 years in the West, or about 1,500 years if including the Eastern Byzantine Empire, while the Ottoman Empire lasts for more than 600 years. So this isn't even going to last as long as the Roman Empire, and that's really where they tailored America after, was the Roman Empire. That's why this is, Little Rome. We're in Rome again. This is Rome. Okay, because it's a spiritual successor. All right, what is a spiritual successor? Meaning, a spiritual successor is a creative work like a video game, a movie, or a book, or in this case, a country, that is heavily inspired by an earlier project, but shares no official continuity, characters, or intellectual property rights with it. Well, it does share characters because they're the same people that are coming back. But again, this is dealing with books and movies and shit and games. But it's like a spiritual successor. This is the new Rome. It's a reinvent. They've reinvented the wheel. Okay, that's essentially what they've done. But it's not going to even last as long as their little fun little land. If you look into why is there so much Latin on American currency, it'll actually tell you. I'll actually look it up after I get this drink of water. That it's because the founding fathers were obsessed with the Roman Empire, right? We're going to go and look that up. So let me grab this drink of water. Because I'm ready to go, man. I'm on my third cup of, some iced tea. And so I'm all caffeinated up. So I'm ready to go, man. Spirit's on me hot. Got the caffeine rolling, so my mind's working good. Being, very, very fluent, very quick. So I'll call all you how about me out shy for that. So going into it, why is U.S. currency covered in Latin? Okay. It says Latin phrases like e pluribus unum. All right, and there's also come on now, e pluribus unum. There's also something conceptus. 1 minute. Dollar bill back. Excuse me. Novus Ordo Seclorum and an annuit conceptus. Okay, so Novus Ordo Seclorum is New Order of the Ages. Okay, that's referring to a new world order. Okay, and annuit conceptus is, he favors our enterprise with with great success, or he favors our enterprise. Okay, so, and who is he? It's not the Lord. It's not Yahweh. Okay, it's Satan. Right? That's, because these guys, they're really a nation of Satan worshipers, man. So, and Masons, okay? So it says Latin phrases like e pluribus unum are on U.S. currency, and I forgot what e pluribus unum means. One something. Unum means one. One of many, okay? One of many, okay? It says, on U.S. currency because the founding fathers were heavily influenced by the not the classical antiquity, but by classical antiquity and Enlightenment ideals. They viewed Latin as a timeless formal language. That wasn't it. Were the founding fathers obsessed with Rome? See, why does it already come up? Because they were obsessed with Rome. Yes, the founding fathers were absolutely obsessed with Rome, specifically the Roman Republic. They studied its history, idolized its civic virtue, and deliberately modeled the rhetoric, architecture, and even the pen names of the American Revolution after it. And the question you have to ask yourself is, why would you model yourself after a Roman Empire, an empire that failed? Okay, and if you look into it, if you look at the things that happened in the Roman Empire, same things that are happening now, because you formulated and guided yourself after a falling empire. So those same things that took out that empire are the same things that are taking you down, right? So let's get what we intended to start up with. All right. And again, all these different types of things, and again, this is a not going to be an all-encompassing lesson. There's a lot, all right, but I'll throw you a couple different things. Tuskegee experiments, Tulsa massacre, slave vivisection, okay. Okay, because I got a couple things, slavery, experimentation, town attacks, cruelty, right? That I mentioned, of course, as being, some of the things that they like to do here. So let's read about some of the things that they've done, all right? And then we'll get Genesis 27 and 41 through 42. So right here, I mentioned experimentation, right? Experimentation, this in the vivisection, all right? And really both these fall under experimentation and cruelty. Okay, experimentation and cruelty. Tuskegee syphilis study. Okay, this isn't bullshit. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a fact. So the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male, informally referred to as the Tuskegee experiment or the Tuskegee syphilis study, was a study conducted between 1932 and 1972. But wasn't that after slavery ended, though? Slavery was done. Stop complaining. Stop bitching. That was done in 1972. Right? That's when my father was born. Okay, that was in his era, right? So, by the United States Public Health Service. Oh, what's that? It was conducted by the United States Public Health Service. I thought they wouldn't do anything to harm their own citizens, right? Same thing with the CIA, the FBI. These groups aren't to help the American citizen. They're experiment on you. Look at the declassified CIA documents. See if there was anything there. And see if there was any secret studies to help the American citizen. No, the heart attack guns and all these different things. Operation Paperclip to get all these fucking crazy German scientists over here that had and they were doing vivisections and all this evil shit. Look into it, man. There's nothing good. Fucking MK Ultra. All right. All these things, Operation Mockingbird, Project Megiddo, none of these things were to help American citizens, all right? These were all to, plan against them, okay? It says, and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, so the PHS, the United States Public Health Service, and the CDC conspired, okay, against the American citizen, okay? Specifically the black Americans in this point. It says, on a group of nearly 400 Israelite men, I'm going to change it to what it was, with syphilis, as well as a control group without, okay? Well, they specifically injected them with syphilis. It says, the point of the study was to observe the effects of the disease, when untreated to the point of death and autopsy. There you go. It says, although there had been effective treatments to reduce the severity of the disease since the 1920s, the use of penicillin for the treatment of syphilis was widespread as of 1945. The men were not informed of the nature of the study. Proper treatment was withheld, and more than 100 died as a result. No, they actually injected, okay, individuals. Let's see. Americans injecting black prisoners with syphilis. It really did happen. See, they're lying now. They said, historically, the U.S. government did not inject black men with syphilis during the infamous Tuskegee study, nor their participants prisoners. They did, however, U.S. researchers did intentionally infect prisoners and other vulnerable groups with syphilis in a separate parallel study conducted in Guatemala. Okay, I guess that was a different thing, right? Whatever. Guatemala syphilis experiment was 1946 and 1948. That's what they say allegedly. It was also done it was part of the Tuskegee experiments as well. They're covering that part up. That's a cover-up. Because I remember reading about it, right? So there's one. Is that not experimentation and cruelty? That's experimentation and cruelty right there, right? So right then and there. But we have one more for you. Let me turn on my light. Bear with me. Ugh. God damn it. 1 minute. Ugh. Freaking pulling my arm out of its socket. Slovakia. Bear with me. Let's write that off. Experimentation. Cruelty. I need not say anything about slavery. I mean, that's self-explanatory. If you don't know that went down, then I don't know where the fuck you been. And then let's finish up with, not finish up, but let's look into this. This should probably give us a pretty good report. And you can actually read about this a little bit in the, what book was it? I'm trying to think if it was, I think they touched on it a little bit in, you know what? 1 minute. I'll be back, because actually I think it's fucking dead. Actually, 1 minute. Hold up. 1 minute. I'll be right back. Alright. Hold up. I got this Kindle. I don't know if it's dead. It should be on. Screen showing on. Hold up. I'm trying to get into this, because if I can, there was a book I was reading. I haven't had this thing on in a couple months. You know what? Give me a minute. I'm gonna go. This one won't take so long. I'm gonna go plug this in. I got a cord over there. I think it's like Kobold Reader or something like that. Kindle jailbreak, because I jailbroke it. Kindle jailbreak. How to turn on. Yeah, I have cool. Give me a minute, brothers and sisters. Hold the power button for a full 40 seconds. Okay. 1 minute. See if this will work. I really would appreciate it if it did. It might be dead though. I think it's. Oh yeah, it's not even working. I think it's dead. Hold up. Oh, Slacky for all the interruptions. There was a book, and I'd like to be able to find it. There was a book on like, and I have it on there because I started reading it, and I remember just within the first like 3 or 4 pages, man, I took a shitload of notes. And basically, what it was about was slave vivisection, all right, and experiments that were specifically being done on black women. They were like doing all sorts of weird shit to the, you know, so-called black women's vaginas, chopping them and doing fucking book about slave experimentation. There was a book. Here it is. This is the one. This is the book. Let's see if I can find it. It's called America. Here, you can check it out. It's called Medical Apartheid: The Dark History of Medical Experimentation on Black Americans from Colonial Times to Present. And it's a book, 2007 by Harriet A. Washington, right? And it's a history on the medical experimentations of Israelites, okay, from the era of slavery to the present day. Let me see, medical apartheid, okay. See if I can find a PDF of it. Well, they have it on the Internet Archive, so should be good. Well, give me the full thing. Looking good. Okay. Let's see. Looks like to be a full scan. Limited preview. God damn it. Okay, I know how to get this, but I'm not gonna show it. So 1 minute. Hold up. All right, we're back. I ended up grabbing it, and I threw it. I was able to get the EPUB, so I threw it into this online EPUB reader. So let's see. Where was it? Try to find it. Let's see. Hurt too bad. Undergo an operation. Let's see. Trying to find usual subjects. Bear with me. Slacky, brothers and sisters. I don't mean to waste all the time. I'm just trying to find, because there was some really good shit in there. Ooh, looks like the Kindle's charging. Let me see. Let me check it out. 1 minute. Nah, it just popped up saying it needs a charge. God damn it. Man, this is how it goes. This is Satan. Alright? Anytime you're trying to find something, of course, it's a whole fucking issues. We'll read this part, right? This is nuclear winter radiation experiments on Israelites, all right, in America. This is the one I was looking for, but the way this layout is different than on the Kindle. The Kindle, I have it to where it's way easier and you can take notes and it pops up all the different notes that... I actually own the book, okay? I actually own the book. I bought the book, but it's on Kindle, right? So it's you know, actually... God damn it, I hate to keep wasting time. One more time, Slacky brothers and sisters. I bet I can access it from my Amazon, so hold up. One more time. Hey, we got it. Call all you how about meow shy. So, yeah, it's actually in my list of owned books. So, we can check it. Call all you how about meow shy. Boom, boom, bam. This is perfect. This is why I wanted it in this specific version. And, like I said, it proves that I own it. All right, not that it's piracy to go and do that. Well, it is piracy, not that it's theft to go and do that anyway, because you're not stealing from anybody. It's just copyright infringement. But I do actually own it. I hate to show you. But, see, it's got the better font and everything, and I actually got highlights here. Now, check this out. This was pretty interesting. It says, I'm not going to even mention the name. You're going to have to look on the screen. This executives apparently were uncomfortable with what they read because they refused to grant permission to reproduce this telling image or even respond to my query after I supplied the requested chapter and outline. And I guess they had, you know, they were, it said there was a part here. Let's see. I'll read from right here. The painting, actually. I'll just read, fuck it. Introduction, the American Janus of Medicine and Race. It says, on a sylvan stretch of New York's patrician Upper Fifth Avenue, just across from the New York Academy of Medicine, a colossus in marble Augustus inscriptions, and a bas-relief caduceus grace, a memorial bordering Central Park. Anyway, in this book, it kind of has a lot of over-explanatory language. I don't really like that. It's like a so-called black woman was trying to prove herself. These laurels venerate the Surgeon James Marion Sims, MD, as a selfless benefactor of women. Nor is this the only statuary erected in honor of Dr. Sims. Marble monuments to his skill, benevolence, and humanity guard his native South Carolina's State House. Let me slow down. Its medical school, the Alabama Capitol grounds, and a French hospital. In the mid-19th century, Dr. Sims dedicated his career to the care and cure of women's disorders and opened the nation's first hospital for women in New York City. He attended French royalty. His Grecian visage inspired oil portraits, and in 1875, he was elected president of the American Medical Association. Hospitals still bear his name, including a West African hospital, and West Africa is primarily Jake, by the way. It says that utilized the eponymous gynecological instruments that he first invented for surgeries upon black female slaves in 1840. So all the gynecological instruments that they, shove up you women's twats, those were all really experimentation devices that they first tested, see how they worked on, so-called black female slaves. It says, but this benevolent image vies with the detached Marion Sims portrayed in Robert Thompson's J. Marion Sims, gynecological surgeon. An oil representation of an experimental surgery upon his powerless slave, Betsy. So they portrayed this guy as a hero, but, well, it turns out he was not so much. The Sims stands aloof, arms folded, one hand holding a metroscope, the forerunner of the speculum, and that's a device that they actually use to, stretch open the vagina to, peer inside. It says, as he regards the kneeling woman in a coolly evaluative medical gaze. His tie and his mooring coat contrast with her simple servant's dress, head rag, and bare feet. The painting, commissioned and distributed by the Park Davis Pharmaceutical House more than a century after the surgeries of one of its A History of Medicine in Picture series, takes telling liberties with the historical facts. Tom portrays Betsy as a fully clothed, calm slave woman who kneels complacently on a small table, hand modesty raised to her breast before a trio of white male physicians. Two other slave women peer around a sheet apparently hung for modesty's sake in a childlike display of curiosity. Showing, basically trying to portray, even that's a racist depiction, trying to show oh, what's going on? Juvenile, juvenile, making juvenile a childlike of adult women, right? It says this innocuous tableau could hardly differ more from the gruesome reality in which each surgical scene was a violent struggle between the slaves and the physicians, and each woman's body was bloodied battleground. Each naked, anesthetized, or no anesthesia, right? Slave woman had to be forcibly restrained by the other physicians through her shrieks of agony as Sims determinedly sliced and sutured her genitalia. The other doctors who fled when they could bear the horrific scenes no longer. It then fell to the women to restrain one another. No anesthesia. No anesthesia. Because I wanted to reproduce Tom's painting on the cover of this book, or at least in the text, but when I asked the permission of its copyright holder, you see who holds it, the company insisted on reviewing the entire manuscript of this book before making a description. As an independent scholar, I could not acquiesce. See, this is the thing, using all these fucking big ass words to this. I cannot agree to this, right? God damn, that's all you need to say. And I used another cover image. When I renewed my request to use the image within the text, they agreed based its description upon reading this chapter and the outline of the book. The you-know-what executives apparently were so uncomfortable with what they read because they refused to grant permission to reproduce this telling image or even respond to my query after I supplied the requested chapter and outline. So, check this out. So now we're going to jump around. I just wanted to show you that you know, these people, they want to, you know, wouldn't they want to say, yeah, you know, the past was very bad, you know, we shouldn't cover that up. Here, use the image. Nope. They don't want it. They still don't want it going out. Why? Because they're the same motherfuckers, right? They haven't changed not one bit. So from here, I just have some highlights that I highlighted. Here's one. Infant mortality of Israelites is twice that of Edomites. And so-called black babies born in more racially segregated cities have higher rates of mortality. That's death. The life expectancy of Israelites is as much as 6 years less than that of a so-called white person. Here's another one. It says, a closer look at the troubling numbers reveals that so-called black people are dying not of exotic, incurable, poorly understood illnesses, nor of genetic diseases that only target them, but rather from common ailments, common sicknesses, right, that are more often prevented and treated amongst so-called whites than so-called blacks. Okay, here's another one. So-called, it says mental ailments are destroying so-called blacks as well as black women suffer the highest rates of stress and major depression in the nation, and suicide rates soared 200% among young black men within just 20 years. Check this out, right? These subjects, where I'm just jumping around here, some of the highlights. These subjects were given experimental cobra venom, all right, cocktails, known to have unacceptably high lethality, known to kill motherfuckers. They were enrolled in experiments without their consent or knowledge, were subjected to surreptitious surgical and medical procedures while unconscious, injected with toxic substances, deliberately monitored rather than treated for deadly ailments, excluded from life-saving treatments, or secretly farmed for sera or tissues that were used for to perfect technologies such as infectious disease tests. Right? And those are, you know, the ones that I have, the highlights that I had. So just from that little bit, and again, the book is pretty cheap. If you go and look in medical apartheid, and you can go and look it up, and I'll open it in a private window so all my personal information doesn't come up. It was pretty cheap. You can get it on Kindle for $5. I actually got it on sale for like $1, I think. You can get the paperback for right now it's on sale for $11.45 instead of the usual $20. All right, or for no money, they probably have it at your local library, right? But it's definitely something to thumb through, right? And look at this. This is another book to check out, right? This one's a little bit more expensive, but The Delectable Negro: Human Consumption and Homoeroticism Within U.S. Slave Culture. That talks about cannibalism. Okay, cannibalism. Look, if you have Kindle Unlimited, which I think Kindle Unlimited you can get a trial of, you can get it for free. You know, $0. All right, if you have Kindle Unlimited. Is Kindle Unlimited included in? I don't think it is. I think, but there's a test. You can get Kindle Unlimited for like really cheap. You know, just go and do that and read the books, and then boom, bam, you're done. Right? So, you know, do what you want to do at the end of the day, right? But again, that's the experimentation. That's the cruelty. Now, finally, the town attacks. Here's the most popular one, right? The Tulsa Race Massacre. The Tulsa Race Massacre was a 2-day-long terrorist massacre perpetrated by Edomites, all right, white supremacists, that took place in the Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma, United States. Between May 31st and June 1st, 1921, mobs of white residents, some of whom had been armed and appointed as deputies by the city government officials, attacked black residents and their homes and businesses. The attackers burned and destroyed more than 35 square blocks of the neighborhood, at the time one of the wealthiest black communities in the United States, colloquially known as Black Wall Street. The event is considered one of the worst incidents of racial violence in American history. Now, I don't know if this is the same one. Incendiary bomb dropped on black town. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, they bombed it. They did bomb it. Right here. This is from history.com. All right. What role did airplanes play in the Tulsa Race Massacre? Few historians dispute that planes flew over the city's prosperous black district. What's unclear is bullets fired. No, it should talk about there are bombs dropped. All right, bombs dropped on bomb dropped on Blacktown. This is Philadelphia. Police bombing. Yeah. Right here. And this is 1985. Right? The largely forgotten history of Philadelphia's police bombing a black organization move. They literally...
This week marked the
fair use.
40th anniversary of one of the worst tragedies in the history of Philadelphia. In May 1985, the city's police...
1985. Not 1885. It's not like you're chomping on this piece of ice. Not 1885. Not 1785. 1985. It's not too many years ago, man.
Improvised bomb on a residential home that housed the Black Revolutionary
Look at this.
organization called MOVE.
Look at the photos, man.
The bomb and the ensuing fire killed 11 members of the group, including 5 children, and destroyed more than 60 nearby homes. Ali Rogan reports on why so many are still coming to grips with what happened.
MOVE is a totally revolutionary organization.
The complicated story of MOVE begins in the early 1970s.
And we don't really need to do anything, but anytime so-called black people would try to become self-sufficient, right? Black Wall Street, MOVE, any of these different types of things, boom, got to get rid of them, can't have them, right? That's cruelty. Not only is that a town attack, that's also cruelty, all right? Let's define cruelty. Okay, and we're getting all these we've already got some scriptures, but of course I want this to be more scripture heavy, but again, all these different things, so when we go in the scriptures, you know exactly what I'm talking about, what we're talking about through the spirit power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Gave you all the information. This is history. Before we get into the spiritual mystery that is only given to us by Yahweh Shem Yahushai through the Holy Spirit, we're going to give you the history that anybody can go and look at. Right? And this is something you can't deny. You can just, I don't believe in that, I don't believe in the Bible. Well, you'd still be wrong, but this is history. This is well recorded. Okay? What are you going to do with that? Okay, the Bible's well recorded as well, but we know you have such animosity against it. You love history though, right? You love Roman history, you love the history. Well, we'll give it to you in a way that you like, and you still won't like it because you deny it, right? So cruelty, what is cruelty? The deliberate, willful, malicious infliction of physical or mental pain, suffering, distress on another sentient being. Okay? That's what you do. Okay? Slavery, experimentations, town attacks, cruelty. That's what you like to do, man. That's what you like to do. Slacky, bear with me. So let's go. And let's get it. Let's and so why? So why though, right? So why? So why all this? And you can go and look up all these different things. Well, look at that. Dr. J. Marion Sims, called the father of gynecology. Between 18 and this is slave vivisection. I was going to close it out because we already talked about it in the medical apartheid, but there he is, mentioned Dr. J. Sims again. It says between 1845 and 1849, Sims performed grueling experimental operations in Montgomery, Alabama, to cure vesicovaginal fistula. A fistula is like a nodule type thing, I believe. It says he repeatedly operated on enslaved women. Sims refused to use anesthesia, adopting the pervasive racist myth that black people did not feel pain like white people did. Okay? Anarcha alone, this is, slave women, Anarcha, Betsy, and Lucy. Anarcha alone endured at least 30 operations. That's awful, man. It's horrendous. So, why? Why do they do this, though? Why do they do this? Let's see. Genesis 27 and 41 through 42. And Esau hated Jacob. Biblically, their nation is Esau. Biblically, we are Jacob. All right, we are descendants of Jacob. They are descendants of Esau. Okay, it's provable through Scripture. It's undeniable. Time and time again, these Scriptures only fit Jacob and only fit Esau. If you just had the Holy Spirit, if you just looked and you just understood, you'd be able to get it. Okay, but it's not for you to get, so you don't get it. Okay, but you're going to get it when the Lord comes back, all right? It's going to be evidently clear. It's going to sober you up, all right? When you see a so-called black man cracking open those skies, you're going to know. You're going to know. In verse 41, it says, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. Okay, and you can get all mad and say that, that's this whole thing is because, Esau hated Jacob, but that's because Jacob went and stole his blessing. Well, that blessing was never entitled to Esau, right? You might say it's because of the firstborn, right? But You came in hungry from the field one day and sold your birthright. Your birthright entitled you to a spiritual priestly blessing. So that's why the Lord had this happen the way it had it happen. Everything's through the Lord. Okay, if the Lord didn't want it to happen this way, he would have stopped Jacob from doing it. But he didn't, because when that transaction happened, when Esau sold his birthright, that birthright entitled him to the blessing that Isaac was going to give him. And now that Jacob has that birthright, right? Boom. He has the blessing. And that's why Jacob got the blessing and not Esau. Okay? And it was already, if you really want to go back into it before that even happened, the Lord told Rebekah, he says, 2 nations are in your womb, and the older shall serve the younger. Usually the younger would serve the older, but the older would serve the younger. Why? And Esau came out first, red all over, right? And why is that? He was the firstborn, and he was the older one, so he would serve the younger. Why? Because that goes back into that blessing, all right? And the Lord knew that blessing was going to change its hands. It was going to go from the Esau's birthright was going to get into the hands of Jacob. Why? Because the Lord loved Jacob, and he had that happen the way it happened, okay? Because that's the way he wanted it to go, all right? He's the author. Okay, he's the one that makes everything. Okay, he's the director, the author, whatever you want to, whatever analogy you want to, use. All right, author, the writer, the director, the playwright. Okay, the conductor, Jehovah Shemau Shai. He had it happen the way he wanted it to happen. Okay, and Esau just happened to get mad. He hated his birthright. He hated his birthright. All right, let's go and show you that. Okay. Because Esau always gets mad and says, "Oh, he stole it." Well, it was a transaction, all right. And the reason that Esau sold it is because he didn't give a shit, because he didn't like it. This is Genesis 25 and 29. Then we'll jump back into 27. It says, "In Jacob," we're gonna go down to maybe 34. It says, we'll continue on until It says, "And Jacob sawed pottage." Jacob was making pottage. He was making stew, right? "And Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, 'Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint.' Therefore his name was called Edom." The stew wasn't even ready yet. "And Jacob said, 'Sell me this day thy birthright.' And Esau said, 'Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me?' And Jacob said, 'Swear to me this day.' And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright." He hated his birthright. He didn't like. He said, "Man, I'm about to die. What the fuck is this birthright gonna do? Have it. Just give me the stew, man." And people say, "Well, Jacob was wicked for doing that. He should have just gave his brother some food," right? Well, no, it's not wicked, right? He made a transaction. He said, "All right, well, give me your birthright." And Esau didn't like his birthright anyway. You see how the way he talked about it. I'm gonna die. What the fuck is this birthright gonna just? Sure, have it. All right. I swear unto you my birthright. Give me the stew, Jake. Give me the stew. All right. Let me eat it. Like it says, Esau despised his birthright. You can always tell who's an Edomite because they really get messed up with Genesis 25, Genesis 27. Anything dealing with Esau and Jacob, they get messed up, and that shows you who they are. It says, "And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his..." This is back in Genesis 27, 41 through 42. I just wanted to preface that. It says, "And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, 'The days of mourning for my father at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob.'" All right, there you go. And then in 42, Rebekah warns him, says, "And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah, and she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, Behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doth comfort himself, purposing to kill thee." He's going to kill you, right? So, I think what he sent to go stay with her brother or something, right? "Flee thou to Laban, my brother to Haran." All right, so you see it right in here in the NLT. Down in 43, it says, "So listen carefully, my son, get ready and flee to my brother Laban in Haran." Right? So you're going to have to get out of here, right? Because he's going to try to kill you. You got to go, right? And Rebekah was a very righteous woman, okay? She was a very righteous woman. It's basically like a good woman, an example of an excellent, all right, spiritual woman. And people say, "Oh, she did, she plotted behind our man's back." No, because at the end of the day, look, she was led by the Lord, okay? She was led by the Lord, and Isaac wasn't a wicked man, but he did have a sense of simplicity about him in some things. For example, like he loved Esau primarily because his stew. right? Why did Isaac love Esau? But the Lord, mind you, Isaac loved Esau, but the Lord loved Jacob. All right, let's go and prove that. Jacob have I loved. This is Romans 9:13. It says, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. So it's not about what Isaac liked. Okay, it's about what the Lord liked and loved. And he loved Jacob. Okay. Look, and this is a simple reason to like somebody. Isaac favored Esau primarily because it was his firstborn and an adventurous hunter and provided him fresh wild game. That's it. All right? It's kind of a simple way to love someone more because because, good food, right? And again, Isaac wasn't a wicked man, but even righteous people can have their shortcomings, right? And that was just like a simple way, like kind of like it's not a reason to love someone above and beyond just because they, brought you food. All right? I mean, you respect that person, right? Of course. But, you get it. But let's get, I never got Luke 11 and 17, so let's get that real quick. Going back into, these people being divided against themselves in this country. Luke 11 and 17, it says, but he, knowing their thoughts, said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house falleth. Okay, there you go. And so let's get Ezekiel, because this is going to go into that Genesis 27 and 41 that, he kept that wrath forever, right? Not like the Lord kept the wrath forever, but Esau kept his own wrath forever. Just like the Lord had a wrath against Esau forever, well, Esau had a wrath against Jacob forever, perpetual hatred. Right? It says, Ezekiel 35 and 1 through 5. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. Okay, now who lived in Mount Seir? I should say the Edomites, Idumeans. The Horites and the Edomites, the descendants of Esau, were the primary groups. All right, and this is dealing with the Edomites. Okay, the conquerors, the Edomites, and that's what they do. They go over and they, take land and conquer them and by violence, right? They covet fields and take them by violence. It says, 2, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. Are we prophesying against a mountain, or are we prophesying against the people that are there? People that are there, who were the Idumeans, the Edomites, okay? And we've done plenty of lessons on reincarnation. And these Edomites are the same people coming back. Those souls get recycled. The Edomites are still very much alive this day and age. The Israelites are very much alive this day and age. The Moabites, the Hamites, the Ishmaelites, all very much still alive. And the Amalekites, they say the Amalekites were done away with. They say the Edomites were done away with. They're still around, all right? They're just trying to mask themselves. Okay, and the Amalek, they're the 1948ers, okay? They're just like the Edomites, all right, but a little bit more cunning in ways. Okay, because they're Esau's grandchildren. They're through that line. All right, still through the line of Esau, but just different, a little bit of a different flavor. All right, it's just it's one of Esau's tribes. Just like they have Gomer, the Germans, and then Gog, the Russians. All right, you have Amalek, the 1948ers, and then just regular Edomites. Okay, it says in verse 3, it says, and say unto it, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. Perpetual. What does that mean? All right, continuing forever without interruption or occurring repeatedly over a very long time. It never ended, right? Because thou hast had a perpetual, unending, never changing, all right, repeated hatred, and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Verse 6, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee, so that thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Since you love blood so much, Esau, the Lord's going to let it bring upon you. You're going to die. You're going to be having all these things happen to you. All right? And, well, that's just the way that it is, man. And our people, they want to stay here, right? They want to stay here. You don't want to stay in this you want to stay in this place. Let's go and get Nahum 3 and 1. okay? Because this is you, Jake. Woe to the bloody city. I just talked about the blood, right? I just talked about the blood. Well, it's a bloody city. The bloody city is another name for Babylon the Great, all right? North America, specifically the United States of America, Babylon, bloody city, spiritual Sodom, spiritual Egypt, Rome, many different, names. There's some more I'm probably missing. There's another one talking about there's another one. It's not coming to me. All right, if a brother wants to put it down below. There's a couple more, I think. I know there's at least one more. There's the ends of the earth. It might be the ends of the earth. There might be another one. I don't know. It might be another one. I think, I don't know. Slack you. But, there's quite a few different names. But again, woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. Who's the prey? Well, who's enslaved in this land? Who's having injustice against them? Who was the one who was getting experimented on? Who? Right? The so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. But our people, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, they don't want to part. They love it here. Right? They think that if they just black it up, if they just brown it up, all right, if they get the Black Panthers back together or the Brown Berets back together, all right, or, I'm sure they had a Native American version, that they can just, fix America and take it back over. No, man, this place is polluted. It's polluted, okay? And after this place is destroyed, it's going to be a place, all it's going to be here is predators and unclean birds and shit, man. As the scriptures say. Of all unclean and let me go and get it. Right here. Here it is. This is the one. There's another one I was looking for. This is Revelation 18:2, which of course is what 1 through 2 is what I named this channel after. But it says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. I'm thinking of another one that talks about where satyrs, Isaiah 13:21. This is what I was getting. This is the one I was looking for. I was confusing it with the other one. Isaiah 13:21. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. Okay, showing you all sorts of creatures and beasts and shit is gonna be dwelling there. Probably a whole bunch of shit, right? That we don't know of. It's at the risk of sounding bugged out, because again, you gotta have a closed open mind. For years they said the chupacabra, all right, was not real. The chupacabra's totally real, man. They proved it, right? They proved it. But there's other shit out there that who knows, man? Who knows? There's just things out there that the Lord has that Esau makes all these folk tales about, but the Lord has these creatures. He has beasts, right? He has Leviathan. Okay. Think about Leviathan. Now, there's other things that are just like cryptids that don't exist, like the Bigfoot. Bigfoot don't exist. But Leviathan, right? That's mentioned in the Bible. A giant sea serpent. Okay, a giant sea serpent. So if this exists, you're gonna tell me a chupacabra can exist? Not like this one, but they look like this is basically really what it looks like, right? A small dog-like creature that sucks blood, they don't exist? They can't exist? Of course they exist, man. Right? There's a bunch of shit out there that you don't want to know that exists. Right? The Lord has, all these different types of things. And these are those creatures that the Lord has that people don't really know about. These are the secretive ones. Right? The ones that not many people know about. Right? There's a whole bunch of weird shit out there. Loch Ness monsters probably, they say, oh, that's fake. It's probably just a dinosaur or something that was left over. Who knows, man? Right? The Lord can have these, crazy creatures that people don't necessarily see on a regular basis, right? He can have Leviathan. He can most certainly have a dog-like creature, okay? He can most certainly have that, okay? If the Lord can have Leviathan, they call them dog men or dog people. They're not really humans at the end of the day. They're just like dogs that are almost like a bipedal dog man, cryptid, okay? They're like werewolves, right? And they're not necessarily, they I'm sure they don't look exactly like this, but you know, some sort of like bipedal, and they're not humans, all right? They try, you know, Esau tries to make, oh, a werewolf, half human, half man. No, they're not, half wolf, half man. There's no, that's confusion. But there are beast-like creatures that, you know, like, I mean, look, you say a creature like this cannot exist, right? Nothing like this can exist. But imagine if you said, oh, there's like but, you know, gorillas, right? You wouldn't want to believe something like a gorilla. Oh, it's like a man. It can stand up. It can use its hands and shit, but it's covered in fur, has these giant teeth, right? But that exists. There's a lot of things out there that we don't know about, all right? Not necessarily like the way Esau says werewolves, but I 100% believe in these, you know, not necessarily like this, but, you know, to an extent, right? Because they could totally exist, right? There's many things that we don't know about out there, okay? And it sounds crazy, but they're not going to look exactly like this, you know? But could the Lord make a creature that's like a dog, but it's more bipedal? Absolutely. All right? Absolutely. There's a lot of weird shit that people don't know about. People don't know about how, and the all the things that are all the people that go missing in the national forest. Well, there was a story that basically a guy came out and said, oh yeah, there's primitive man out there. Oh, what do you mean primitive man? There's basically like cave people, right, that live in those cave systems out there in the national parks, right? And they're like basically like Edomites, all right? They're basically, for example, you want to know something? The wood woos, right? The wood woos, also known as the wild man, the wood woos. Medieval European folklore, right? The brothers talked about that, the wood woos, right? That's Esau. Esau's the wood woos, right? Hell, people saying Bigfoot, probably wasn't Bigfoot, probably was wood woos, right? Esau and his hairy ass walking around, right? So yeah, man. Those exist, but again, you gotta have a closed, open mind. There's things out there that we don't know, we don't see on a daily basis, but the Lord has these creatures, man. And during the end days, some of those creatures are gonna be unleashed, like Leviathan. So those are the things. It's not like a little puppy dog. Those are the things you don't want to come across, man. Creatures of judgment. Okay, you don't want anything to do with those. Leviathan. You don't want to pet. Leviathan ain't a pet. He's not one to pet. Oh, I want to pet him. He's so cute. No, not all creatures are meant for that. There's some creatures that, you know, teeth of wild beasts, as it's mentioned, right? There's some ones out there that aren't too friendly, all right? And so just keep that in mind. Just keep it in mind, man. And again, it sounds bugged out, but think about it, all right? It's not bugged out. It's if we have Leviathan, you think Leviathan's that's the only creature that the Lord's got under lock. No. And of course, some of those things are far-fetched, like the Bigfoot and some other shit. But there's other ones that, I mean, think about it. Once you really start reading the scriptures, when you look into those cryptids and stuff, some of those things don't seem too far-fetched anymore. All right, once you have things like Leviathan happening, once, you know, with the Lord, anything's possible. All right, if he wants to create some wolf-looking creature that stands on all two and its purpose is to tear people in half, the Lord can absolutely create a creature of vengeance like that. Absolutely. All right, it's not beyond his power. He's omnipotent. Now, we don't know what's all out there, all right? It's just speculation. We have no idea what's out there at the end of the day. And a lot of that shit, we don't want to know if it's out there, right? A lot of people in those rural towns, they've seen some fucking creepy shit, man. They've seen some of these crazy stories. Some of that's just folklore, but some of that's true. I've been out in those rural areas. You hear and see some weird shit, and I've seen and heard some weird fucking shit that I can't explain, man. And it's just one of those things where, you know, it's, oh yeah, well, it's just one person. No, when everybody starts saying, oh, in these certain rural areas, you see and hear some weird shit, and you don't really know what it is. Nah, man, it's just one of those things where there's some shit out there you don't really not want no part of, man. You don't want no part of it. Because, you know, Esau don't know about those things. And even if they did, they wouldn't tell you about them, right? Because people would fucking lose their mind, right? But absolutely, is it too far-fetched again for a little dog creature that sucks blood? No. All right, we got anteaters. Try explaining an anteater to someone. It's like this creature with this long snout that picks up food, you know, like several feet away from it, and it just sucks up ants through its nose. I'm like, what the fuck is that? That don't sound like a real creature. Well, it is. It's got these big-ass claws, right? And it walks on all fours. It's all slow and shit, right? And it's friendly, though, but it looks crazy. Or, oh, it's a platypus, you know, it's got poison in the back of its feet. It's got poison quills on the back of its feet, and it's got this big duck-like nose. Try explaining a platypus to someone. They've never seen a platypus. They think you're fucking nuts. They're like, that creature doesn't exist, right? But it do. So, getting back onto Esau, you know, and some of these things are out here, and Ain't gonna be so good when the Lord shuts this place down, because there's gonna be all sorts of beasts that are running it down. Anyway, I lost my original topic, but the Lord's got things out there for judgment, man. Anyway, Numbers 35 and 33, it says, "So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land." So with all this killing that Esau does, he's defiled the land with really Israelite blood, and all the other blood of all the nations, even himself. He's just killed and killed and killed. It says, "The land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it." That's why there's going to be this great slaughter, right, in the land of Idumea. It mentions that, and this is the modern day Idumea. There's got to be a great slaughter here, because again, you know, the blood, this land still has to be cleansed. All right, it's not going to be dwelled in by us. The other animals are going to be dwelling here. That's what I was mentioning, satyrs and stuff. That's how I got on the cryptid, because there's going to be all sorts of weird and crazy animals and unclean birds and all those things there. Call like how about Shemi Shy, because I was like, how did I get on that? It was in that. And now satyrs, it mentions satyrs, but satyrs, you know, Esau likes to make those into being half man, half goat. That's you know, of course that would be confusion, but it might look like a humanoid goat creature. Who knows, man? Who knows? There's many different things out there that we don't know about. Again, take it with a grain of salt. We can't prove everything. We'll see in time what the Lord's got. All right, we can only speculate as of now, but those things that sound far-fetched are not too far-fetched. But yeah, this land has to be cleansed even before the birds and those beasts get it. It's got to be cleansed, because it's all polluted. Right? It's polluted because Esau's polluted it with the blood of Israelites primarily, but everybody, but most primarily Israelites, but he's done it with everybody, even his own self, because he's a horrible ruler, right? So let's get Revelation 13 and 10. We got to get through these because probably almost going on 2 hours now, hour and about 30 minutes, probably an hour and 40 minutes, hour and 30 minutes when we close out. It says Revelation 13 and 10, it says, "He that leadeth into captivity." Here's the other thing. What did you do? You led into captivity. So remember how I said you're going to go into slavery in the opening? Well, "He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints." So that's it. There has to be a retribution, Esau. All right? And it's not going to be nice. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be something that you want to go through. But you should have thought about that before you're doing all this fucking wickedness, man. 250 years, just as America doing all this shit. 250 fucking years of slavery, experimentation, town attacks, cruelty, just all this evil fucking shit, man. So how long do you expect to just be able to get away with it? Just forever? And again, they do. They really do. They say, "I shall never be in adversity." Right? That's one of the quotes. That's a scripture right there. "I shall never be in adversity." Let's go and get it. This is Psalm 10 and 6. It says, "He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity." All right? Well, what does it say after that, though? I'm thinking of a different scripture. There's another one. This is it. Obadiah 1 and 3. The pride of thine heart. Well, let's go up from 1. Because, again, it mentions Esau. Verse 1, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord Yahweh concerning Edom. Right? So that's just part of it. It says, "We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen." Amongst the heathen. If I could speak, is sent among the heathen, not heathen. Heathen. "Arise ye and let us rise up against her in battle." I'll get from 2 as well, because it shows you what the Lord thinks of these individuals. "Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised." So even among the heathen, they're the lowest. Verse 3, "The pride of thine heart has deceived thee, thou that dwelleth in the clefts of the rocks." And they dwell in rocks, and that's where they got the name Caucasian. All right, it's from them dwelling in the Caucasus region. It says, "Whose habitation is high." They put themselves in these high places, right? Skyscrapers and all these different things. High mountains, high places, all these different things. "That saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground?" Right? That's going back. You know, "I shall never be in adversity." But, right? It says, "Though thou exalt thyself as an eagle," there's another hint, "and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord." the Lord's going to bring your ass down, man. There ain't nothing you can do. Ain't nothing you can do. You're going to go into captivity, right? He that leadeth in captivity shall go into captivity. Another one to go with that is Isaiah 14 and 1 through 3, all right? So, I mean, this is all the things that we have coming to us, man. We're going to have some help. You're going to be the help, Esau. Right, we're going to have all that, and you're going to be the help, and there ain't nothing you can do about it, right? Isaiah 14 and 1 through 3, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob. That's the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. They don't all look like so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. We will in the kingdom, all right, because we're going to be changed. But right now on earth, they don't all look like so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Some are walking around looking like Asians. Some are walking around looking like the enemy, white man, right? Some are over here looking Chinese, you know, or Hamitic, or, you know, Arabic. Right? There's some people that are even looking like tiny tops, right? And they're Israelites. So it's not, again, not a skin color thing. It's a biblical lineage thing. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. That land's going to be Israel. And we're going to have the whole world to do whatever we want with, other than Babylon. All right, this land. This is the only time we're going to be in here, because we're not coming back to this place, because this place is basically... It's done, all right? It's going to have its final nail in the coffin, and then it's just going to be a place for animals to dwell, all right? Not humans. It says, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take, listen close, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. Go and look up servant and handmaid. Actually, matter of fact, don't. I'll get it here in a minute. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And we'll finally get rest, right? Verse 3. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the bondage wherein thou was made to serve. Which shows you you're part of us. You're the reason we're not getting no rest right now, right? Because you're doing all this harmful shit to us. All right, let's get this in the, you see, Babylon's king. Let's get this in... Let's get an ant, because I like the ant, because, let's see. Check this out. For the Lord will have compassion on Jacob, this is the Ant Bible, the captives in Babylon, and will again choose Israel and settle them in their own land. Foreigners, Gentiles, these are the non-Israelite Gentiles, right? Foreigners will join them as proselytes and will attach themselves to the house of Israel. No, Jacob, Israel. The peoples will take them along and bring them to their own place, Judea, and Israel, and the house of Israel will possess them as an inheritance in the land of the Lord, as male and female servants. And they will take captive those who captives they have been, and they will rule over their former oppressors. And it will be in the day when the Lord gives you rest from the pain and turmoil from the harsh service in which you have been enslaved. Boom, boom, boom. So with this, you need to spiritually depart out of here, Jake. You want to stay around. You want to hang around, right? I love it here. Well, you shouldn't. Micah 2 and 10, KJV, King James Version. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It's polluted by what? Blood. Blood. It's not just the blood. It's the blood defile the land. It's polluted. Lies and robbery. Everything, man. Everything. This place is all fucked up. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you even with a sore destruction. NLT. Up, be gone. This is no longer your land and home, for you have filled it with sin and ruined it completely. It's not just that. We haven't ruined it with sin and wickedness. Esau has. I mean, we have sinned here and done wicked as well, but Esau has ruined this place. Okay? So, NLT kind of going off with that one. NRSV, arise and go, for this is no place of rest because of uncleanness that destroys with a violent destruction. Man, it's all right. Ant Bible, arise and depart because the captivity is inevitable, for this land is not the place of rest because of the defilement that brings destruction, a painful and terrible destruction, right? It reminds me of that scripture, even a sore destruction, right? Well, not that, well, obviously that's this one. There's another one I think that mentions it. Sore destruction. I guess it was just Micah 2. I guess that's the one I was thinking of because it says it right here. I thought there was another one too. It says, it shall destroy you even with a sore destruction. I guess that's the only time it says sore destruction. So yeah, sore destruction. All right, a painful and terrible destruction. So let's get, lastly, and I'm not going to get it too much, but I do have it up on the screen. Signs of a collapsing empire. Distinctive warning signs, explosive wealth inequality. We're seeing that. Heavy currency devaluation. We're seeing that. And massive debt. We're seeing that. They often suffer from political polarization. We're seeing it. Crumbling institutional trust. We're seeing that. Military overextension. We're seeing it. And a disengaged populace pacified by bread, games, or modern-day digital distractions. We're seeing that. We're seeing it. Right? So 250 years of torment. How long do empires last? 250 years on average. All right. What are the signs of a collapsing empire? Everything we're seeing now. How many years has America been down? 250 years. This place is on its way out. And call halalyum la Yahweh bahashim Yahweh Shai bahashim Rakakwadash. All right. Because we can't wait. We cannot wait to get out of this place, man. We cannot wait. Because this place is fucked up. We hate this place. We don't want nothing to do with it. We can't stand it at all. Okay. Let's see. 1 minute. Let's see. Bear with me. Like I'm trying to get gather something together. Hold up. I'm looking something up so I can get it ready. See if I can find it. Hold up. I'm going to pause it so I can try to find it. 1 minute. Alright, Slacky, we're back. I wanted to make sure I got my my note in order, alright, from my closeout, curse upon Babylon. So, Slacky, I got it now. So anyway, let's go and get, I guess the only thing we got left now is Isaiah. Alright, no other things I got to specifically speak on. I think we're just about at it. So 65 and 17. Isaiah 65 and 17, and it reads, the King James Version, for behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. And I mentioned that earlier. We're not going to be talking about this place. Okay? And as the scriptures also say, look forward to a new heaven. Another scripture, all right? That's what we're supposed to be looking forward to right here. 2 Peter 3 and 13, nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. All right, and that's why we're trying to get ourselves right now so we can, be right in the eyes of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Lord willing, right? And let's get the NLT. It says, look, I am creating new heavens and a new earth, and no one will even think about the old ones anymore. The NRSVU says, for I am about to create new heavens and a new earth. The former things shall not be remembered or come to mind. And then new heavens and a new earth. In the Ant Bible, it says, behold, I am creating new heavens and a new earth. And the former things of life will not be remembered or come to mind. So there you go. That's all you need to know about that. We're not going to be, lamenting this place or wanting to extend our stay here. All right. Minute. All right. So yeah, that marks off our. Yep, let me mark that off as well. Signs of a collapsing empire. Slack you for the pauses. There's a lot of pauses this lesson. Slack you. Sometimes that happens. I don't like it to happen, but sometimes it happens. Just happens sometimes. It's a longer lesson, and sometimes you try to find things and it just you get all displaced and you're trying to look at it, and then, you know, like it happened with it. I just wanted to apologize for that. Salaki, brothers and sisters. I go and try to get the Kindle, and the Kindle's not charged up. I try and go get the Hebrew curse for the closeout, and I just wanted to do that last minute. And just it popped into my mind just last minute. I said, oh, let me go and do that. And then, of course, you know, certain things I was looking up, it was taking time. So Salaki, I just wanted to say Salaki to you, brothers and sisters, for the dead air time. I didn't like that. It would have been way better if I was too amped up on the caffeine. It's calmed down when I first started. But, you know, spirit was on me hot. But I just want to apologize for those things. Lord willing, it was still edifying. But, yeah, that's what we're going to close out with. And then, of course, 250 years, right? Calls for a celebration, right? And what better way than to send some curses on Babylon? So that's what I'm going to do. And you can... I'm just going to basically say them, and I'll basically tell you what it is. Basically, the curse is going to say, send judgments. Well, I'm going to say Adawan, all right, which is Adawan is Lord, okay? Adawan is Lord or Sir, all right? And then I'll probably throw in Babu Kasha, which is please. And then it's going to be, so it's going to be basically Lord/Sir, please send judgments and fire and destruction upon Babylon and Edomites. Okay, and the Hebrew, that's going to be Adawan, Babakosha, Shalak, Mashapacham, Wa, Ash, Wa, Abajam, Al, Babal, Wa, Adawamyam, Babakosha, right? So again, it's Adawan, Lord, Sir, Babakosha, please, Shalak, send, Mashapacham, judgments, Wa, and Ash, fire, Wa, and Abajam, destruction, Isle, upon, Babal, Babylon, Wa, and Adawamyam. Okay, so Adawam is Edomite, but Edom. Adawamyam is Edomites. So again, I'm just gonna go through that. I'll just say it one more time. Kol halalim la, Yahweh Bashim Shai, Adawan Babukasha, Shalak Mashapacham, Wa Ash, Wa Abajam, Al Baba, Wa Adawamyam, Babukasha, the Wadi Yahweh Bashim Shai Bashim Dash. Right? So a little closing out curse upon Babylon here. Because we can't wait to see this place go. Boom! Alright? Up in smoke. And that's why it specifically says Ash in there. And that was the word I was looking for, was fire. Is Ash. Ash is fire. So, yeah, man. That's where we're going to close out. May we make it, right? Babu Shah, under Yahweh Bashim Shai, Lord willing, part of the elect, and we get out of here and we get to see this place go up in smoke. We get to see it. We get to see that judgment and fire upon this place, right? So that's a lesson. Lord willing was edifying. Lord willing was still cohesive. I know it was a little all over the place in parts, so slack you for that again. Please forgive me. But yeah, again, all praise, honor, and glory goes unto Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Rakak. Shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. Thankfully, we're almost out of here. It's been 250 years of bullshit, and we're just about ready to get out when the Lord comes back. Whenever he chooses fit for us to be there, we're going to endure, but we sure hope it's soon, and we know it's soon. So until next one, Lord willing, Shalom.